I spent the night in this amazing village where only one family lives. Finding places like this at severe risk of depopulation and abandonment makes me think about all the effort and knowledge of our ancestors, which will be lost with them. Our sovereignty and freedom die with every village that is abandoned, with every piece of knowledge that is lost when our wise elders leave us, and the new generations let it fade into oblivion because of the comfort and dependence on the established system. We must never forget that our ancestors left us knowledge of immense value, to be able to be free by producing our own sustenance, without depending on anything other than taking care of and understanding our environment, to coexist and live in the only healthy way that human beings know how. In symbiosis with Mother Earth. How's it going, YouTube family? Today we're discussing a topic important to me and closely tied to the channel, and that's the loss of population we're experiencing in rural areas. Not just all over Spain, but here in Asturias, which is where I film. And well, I just wanted to share a very interesting fact that really caught my attention, and that's that more than 400 settlements here in Asturias, just in Asturias, 400 residential areas, including villages, hamlets, or places with 3 or 4 houses, barely have a single inhabitant. I mean, it's really crazy. It's estimated that there are over 700 abandoned villages in Asturias, many in natural settings like the one you just saw. And well, today we're going to meet a family that has decided, despite all the difficulties, to stay here in the village. In fact, they're the only ones who continue living here all year round. And well, I know they have quite a few things to share, and they can give us a real perspective on what it's like to live here in these villages, because a lot of people ask me about this topic. Whether it's easy, not easy, how it's done, well, I think they can clear up your doubts much better. So I'm not going to go on any longer. As always, I'll leave you my social media links over there in case you want to stay a bit more up to date with content that I don't upload here on YouTube. And let's get to it. Well, family, I'm entering the village and the family is waiting for me because I told them I was coming. They're sitting here. Look at this. I think they live in this house here, and there's one hiding who doesn't want to come out, but oh well. How's it going, family?
Very good, and how are you?
Great. I was really looking forward to meeting you and introducing you to my family. Because you are apparently the only family that stays in this village all year round, right?
Exactly.
What I want is for you to introduce yourselves. What's your name?
Monchi,
Monchi. And how old are you?
77.
77? This is your wife, right?
Yes.
What's your name?
Mari Carmen.
Mari Carmen. And the daughter, right?
I'm the youngest of 4. My name is Sandra, and I'm 44.
44. One thing people ask me a lot is about the village. What's it like to live in a village in Asturias, isolated in the mountains?
Living in a village means quality of life. It's tough because it's a village and it gets that way. There are harsh winters, there's really bad weather, but then it's peaceful, it's calm. It has many benefits.
People find it very striking, especially young people, that you stay here, that you choose not to leave, because I think you're the only young woman in the village, right, who has decided to stay here.
Yes, it's my sister and me. She works as a rural taxi driver. She does school transportation, and then, well, she also drives people around. She also ends up acting like a therapist, since we're lonely here and everyone needs someone to talk to. And then we also have livestock farming. My father has retired, and for us it makes us really sad to sell the animals, to get rid of everything my grandparents, my parents, and we ourselves have worked for, because we've always helped them. And so, well, we decided to stay here and keep raising the cows.
That's great. I love that. Also, the taxi thing is a social service. It's no longer just a job, but as you said, it's a very important social service because there are fewer and fewer people left in the villages. In fact, Monchi, how many people lived in this village? How many of you were here when...
I came to this village in 1969 and there were 14 households with livestock. And now only this house is left, my house.
When you say you came, it's because you're not originally from here.
I was from another nearby village. And, well, I got married here and came to live here.
Ah, so she's the one from here, right?
Yes.
And how do you feel seeing the town like this? I mean, how does it make you feel to see the town like this?
Gosh, it's just sad, and we're alone in the winter. When it snows, well, it seems like it's just sad.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it snows just a little, but other times, well, they come to clear the road when they can.
Because here, how do you all feel when it comes to, if we could sum up what it's like to live here in the village in terms of the authorities, how do you feel? Do you feel supported? Do you feel a bit neglected? We need to clarify there are two authorities, the town councils and the Principality of Asturias, which is the central government, is like the one that manages a different area, right? What are your thoughts on that topic? How do those of you who live in villages feel?
Well, we really don't lack anything. Keep in mind that now we have internet and you can do any paperwork with a digital ID just like we do. There are now many bureaucratic procedures for the animals that didn't exist before. There's a regional office 12 kilometers away, so if you can't do something online, just go there in person. And the town council does support the villages. Specifically this one, well, if you have any problem, you call them, they listen to you and try to solve it. So good.
Good, right? You handle it well here?
Exactly. Besides, the concept of the town has changed. It's not the same town as 50 years ago like my parents experienced. In our case, right now, we have everything. Anyone who comes here right now has everything. If they want to work remotely, they can work remotely. If they want to go to the beach one day, they can go. The beach is right next to us. And mountains, well, as you can see, we live surrounded by mountains. Like I said at the start, this is quality of life.
I love that you describe it that way. In fact, you'll have to let me avoid saying where I am, because this is the only family that's here all the time. And out of respect, and you know, I really keep places anonymous so they don't get overcrowded, because in the end, a lot of people watch what I do. I often showcase towns for my job, but I don't want them to get overcrowded. So we won't reveal the location, but we'll explore the town with Monchi, right? You'll be my guide around town.
Yes.
You're going to tell me a little bit about the town's history and what it's like, so they can see how it's also declining. There are some fixed up parts, I imagine, because people from outside must have come. In fact, you mentioned to me that now, of course, it's very nice because it's summer. Even though it's a bit cold, it's still summer. Of course, many outsiders visit, but the rest of the year it still needs to be maintained, right?
Exactly. Now, during the height of summer, families who live elsewhere come, and some of them have fixed up a house here and live here for a little while. But, well, the rest of the year, from September to June or July, it's just this family here.
Well, I'm going to stay with you because you told me you had a lot to do.
I'm going to check on the cows. I'm going up the mountain to make sure everything is okay, that there aren't any sick animals, that they're all where they're supposed to be, and I'll leave you with my father, who is the best guide you could find.
I'll stay with him and we'll explore the town, okay?
Okay, I'll show it to you. Look, Alvaro, this is where the forge was, as they called it, where a local man used to work. He used to make horseshoes for the horses, for the mules, for the donkeys. And he mostly dedicated himself to this, but he also had livestock and did some farming.
But now it's really neglected, isn't it?
Now this has been completely abandoned as you can see.
I mean, back here there's I imagine a building.
Back here,
Look, here it is, yes.
this is where the entrance door is over there. And that's where they threw in coal that they even brought from grapevine roots from the Peña Manteca mountain. And with a bellows, they heated the irons there and made horseshoes there, and they fixed picks and other tools for farming.
Do you remember it perfectly?
Yes, perfectly, yes, I remember it perfectly.
And why did the blacksmith stop working here in the village?
The man got older, he was old, his name was Marcelino Alvarez. The man has already died and he had no successor. His children left the village and this was left abandoned.
And inside, is the machinery still preserved or is there nothing left?
I think it has to be there because as far as I know, no one took it or anything like that, but it must be completely abandoned by now.
Yes, given the state of the entrance, we've had to come around to the back.
It must be completely abandoned.
Yes, it's a shame because it's amazing to be able to recreate it, even if just for the festivals, because you have festivals here in the village.
We have a festival on September 8th.
That's great. And well,
in a chapel that's over there up in the mountains.
I see.
Before you get to the town.
That's good.
The Mass is always held there, and maybe there's a little party where quite a few people gather that day, and then, well, lunch and dinner are back in the village, in people's homes.
That's great. You have a good time. I imagine it's in the summer. Well, there are still people around because it's still the summer season, right?
Yes, here from the beginning of July to the beginning of September, until around the 10th of September, there are quite a few people around. Then we're left alone.
What really catches my attention is the forest. You can see it from here. I want to show you because it's beautiful. You'll see the view from here. No matter where you look from here, you'll see this, forest and mountains. But there's something that catches my attention, and it's that the forest seems to be encroaching in some places. It almost reaches the village, right?
Everything is surrounded by brush, and we're even afraid that a fire could break out at any moment because, of course, there aren't any people in the village, and since there aren't any people, who is going to clean it up? No matter how much I want to do, I'm old now and that's it. I'm here with the livestock, helping my daughters a bit when I can, but I just can't do it anymore.
Of course, and I imagine that because people see it all green, but I know there was a time when there were some fires that devastated Asturias. I imagine you must have been really scared, right?
Yes, of course we were scared. In fact, there was one time down at the end of the village, there was a small fire there, and the neighbors from the other village across the way came to help put it out. And well, the firefighters also had to come.
Yes, I imagine that. Well, people see everything green and think there's no risk of fire, but it's real too, right?
Yes, but it looks green at this stage, but in other stages, when there's some drought or something like that, everything dries up, and that's when it becomes dangerous.
Of course, that's why it's so important that in the past people used to manage the hillsides, right? And now there are hardly any young people who can take over, huh?
But now there aren't any people here, I'm telling you, no, none. This is very beautiful, but it's also tough. Of course, here then, also to work with livestock. It's not very easy either because, well, there are many wild animals, the wild boar, the wolf, the bear.
Do you have a lot of that problem around here?
The bear right now here ruined the cherry trees, ruined all of them. You can't have a fruit tree. A doe was right here the other day and ate it all, tore it all up.
It got in here, even with the fence you have here, it got inside, and well, it's that one over there that's broken?
Yes.
Wow, so you basically have the bear right in the village?
Yes. No, it goes through the village. It goes right through the village. The bear isn't afraid. No, the bear just walks through the village like it owns the place. This is also an area where there are a lot of them. Here in this area where I live, there are many. You see them quite often. People who pass through on their way to other villages see them when it happens. And well, at my house you see them all the time.
Another thing that people usually ask about is when you have attacks from these kinds of animals. For example, this fruit tree that got broken, or well, have you also had attacks on your livestock?
Well, this tree, no, here there's no fruit left. There's nothing left here because that's not it. And yes, what's more, the department, I don't know, but they should at least compensate you on time, because one of my heifers was killed in September. It was confirmed to be a bear attack by the rangers, and everything was in order, and from September until the end of May, they didn't pay me. That's 8 or 9 months.
Of course.
I think everyone likes to get paid monthly.
Yeah, besides, you make a living from it, it's not just a hobby.
But well, that's how it is, and if you file a complaint, the department replies that they're working on it and that they'll compensate us. But, well, it takes quite a while. The wild boar the other day came all the way to this garden right next to the houses and dug up a bunch of potatoes and ruined those onions, as you can see.
Yes, they're all dug up.
And well, they called the game warden and he said to pick them up, that he would come to take a look, but the guard still hasn't shown up around here either. So look, you can't have anything near the houses anymore.
It's right next to the house now.
Yeah, well look, the samples.
And besides, you even bother to close it. It's not like you leave it open or anything. You actually make the effort, but still, it's almost impossible to keep them from getting in somewhere, right?
Yeah, well you see, he gets in, goes wherever he wants, And unless you put up an electric fence, there's no way to keep it closed.
I understand that sometimes not even then, because when they're hungry, they take it all.
Sometimes, yeah, he just wants what every living being wants. They want to eat. And so that's it.
Yes, that's understandable. We're not saying we shouldn't coexist with these wild animals, but ultimately the administration is responsible for paying since you make your living from this. There are people who will go down to the market to sell it, or it will be for their own consumption, but it's a loss that's very important to you because it's your refrigerator, it's your pantry, right?
Well, yes, but besides wild boars, I don't know. Hunters have a quota and they can't kill more than 2 here in this hunting ground. And of course, they keep coming and coming, and this area is overrun with them. There are too many wild boars. Now we're fixing the fountain. We're fixing it with help from the local council. And well, now there are starting to be some people here, and we're pitching in too. And well, we want to preserve it because it's something that anyone who comes to the village, even if they just want to drink a glass of water, at least they can drink it from the public fountain.
I assume the water from this fountain is safe to drink?
Yes.
100%?
Yes. It's from a piped water supply, and it's good water. You can drink it without any problems. Women used to come here to wash clothes back in the day. And now, well, now nothing because there are no neighbors and all that. And now there are washing machines too. But anyway, back in the day, they used to come here for that. And the watering trough where the cows used to drink too when they passed by going up or down.
Yeah. Look, it's right there.
And they would go through the meadows or so, and well, they could drink here.
Hey, I'm really glad that the city council here specifically is also doing its part, because I imagine that you don't just fix this with the city council's money, but also from your own pocket, right?
Yes.
Of the few who come here, even if it's just in the summer, do they contribute a little?
The town hall contributed some help, but really the town itself also has to cover some of the costs.
And in winter, how do you manage? Because I'm seeing, for example, the contrast of seeing all this, which is a shame, seeing Oreos and Paneras in this state, and I see you even have a chapel there, right? I can see it over there.
A little chapel, yes.
How do you manage in winter with just the 2 of you to keep all this a bit clear of overgrowth?
Well, sometimes you pick up some brush cutters and clean up a bit, but it doesn't get cleaned as much as it should. Because you see, all winter it's just the 2 of us, and we have to take care of the livestock. And well, we also run a taxi service from home that people sometimes call us for.
Yes, your daughter told me about it.
Like taking elderly people down to Belmonte, to the doctor, or wherever they need to go.
I love that job because in the end, like your daughter said, it's social work and a lot of people feel lonely.
Yes, now there's a phone in every house and everything, and now they call, and well, you just have to go with people wherever they need to go. Look, Alvaro, you can see how this is all in ruins. People used to live there. There was a married couple who were, well, a bit older, and they used to go around the villages or around here and so on, and they would do comedy, and we used to laugh a lot at what they did. It was in those days, I would say, kind of like a form of cinema or something like that. And those country folks, that couple, his name was Manolo, and I don't remember what her name was. But, well, they had something that pleased the people and entertained them, and they lived off that because people would also help by bringing them things. That's how they made a living.
It was a different trade because what was the usual trade here in the village?
No, the trade here was working the land and raising livestock. That was the normal job for all the neighbors.
And the land, what did it produce in this part of Asturias, in the area where we are? Because we're kind of in the central area, more or less, a bit towards the mountains. I don't want to pinpoint it exactly either.
The land produced spelt, which is similar to wheat, spelt corn, potatoes, onions. Well, they planted several things, garlic and 1,000 other things for home consumption.
And about the issue of hunger here in these villages, which is always controversial depending on the area, apparently there were times of hunger and times without hunger during the war. All of this that was experienced, which I imagine you heard a lot about. Was there really hunger in these villages, or did these villages always have at least the minimum to get by?
Well, real hunger itself, no, I don't think so. Because a lot of things were harvested. People worked and cultivated the land and the gardens and so on. Well, as for hunger, there was also some home butchering and such, so I think real hunger itself, no. Now, well, things were quite limited.
I imagine that some families could have been more in need because they had more children or because the parents had died in the war, which is something I've heard quite a lot. Did people help families like that in the village? Was it a close-knit community? Did everyone help clean together?
Yes, this village itself was a close-knit village, yes, always. Also, if people finished a job on a farm or something like harvesting hay or something, when they finished, they would go help each other and support one another. Yes, in that way, yes.
We've lost that, and it's a shame, isn't it?
Nothing, now everyone just minds their own business and that's it.
Yes, I've seen towns where, for example, if this is left unattended, they clear their part and maybe see the neighbor's part, which is nothing, just a little more. And it also affects the path, the road that everyone uses. And I see that there's that limitation, right? People come with a totally different mentality. It's like, what's mine and nothing else.
Yes, now there is some of that. Now people just mind their own business, everyone to their own, and that's it. No, in that environment, people have changed. We don't collaborate like we used to.
Look, incredibly, there's a house back here. And to see something like this here, you see in what looks like total abandonment. Look, what a contrast. What Monchi showed me here, a house that was, this house was very old, right? And they've restored it?
Yes, they restored it about 4 or 5 years ago, and honestly, it turned out beautiful.
The location of this house is incredible. Look at the views it has on this side and how beautiful they've made it. But Monchi, I have a feeling they don't come here much because I can see the vegetation is pretty tall. So it's like a second home, but they only come occasionally.
No, they do come. They might come on long weekends because they live in Madrid. And well, now I hope that in August they'll come for the whole month. So when they come, they clean everything up and make it all nice.
They make it look nice, huh?
Yes, they make it look good.
I mean, I would live here all year round, you know? The views here are amazing. Look at this little corner. And besides, it's not like the house is isolated. You have neighbors right next door. And about housing here, Monchi, what's it like? I imagine there aren't many houses for sale. I haven't seen any, but I do see a lot of abandoned ones. Is it because the families can't agree on selling them?
For example, maybe one of those that's really abandoned, maybe it's not even properly sorted out who the owner is, because maybe there are several siblings and they haven't really sorted it out among themselves either.
I come across this problem a lot, that houses fall apart because, well, there are disagreements over the inheritance. Some people can't find their papers anywhere, which is unfortunate. There should be a solution so these houses don't collapse. It should be easier when papers are missing, right? If someone is interested in it, knowing that they're family and can somehow prove it, even by asking the neighbors, because sometimes it seems ridiculous to me that just because of a simple paper, they can't prove that house was theirs, since in the past people didn't take care of the paperwork, right? It wasn't common.
They say they get the runaround and it's not worth it for them. I mean, the paperwork they have to deal with and all the hassle they go through, so they just leave it abandoned.
Yes, that's what I mean. They should make it easier to prevent that.
Exactly. Make things a little simpler, so there wouldn't be so much red tape over this and that, I don't know.
So much bureaucracy. In the end, they go on and on saying, gosh, yes, people should come to the villages, that they're needed. But when it comes down to it, now that I'm looking for a house, either the prices are outrageous or it's impossible to find the owners or to get them to agree. It's, well, an odyssey because many times the house is completely falling apart because of disputes they have among themselves. If someone like me is interested, as has happened, but no agreement is reached, the house stays in ruins, even though I would have given it another chance. And then there's the issue with the paperwork, especially for older people who aren't really able to run around anymore, and they face obstacles everywhere, and in the end that also causes the villages to suffer because of it. And it's a shame.
They don't support that issue, and it's not easy. No. I don't know how to say it, but the truth is that for anything you want to do here in the village, they require you to get 1,000 different permits just to make a small repair. And well, I don't see it being easy.
No, not at all. These days, you almost need to be an engineer for some things in the countryside, right?
I don't see it being easy. It's full of obstacles and difficulties. For all the talk about supporting villages, I don't see much real support. And no, I don't think it's easy. Another house that these were very well-known people from here in the village. It was also a big family that had 5 or 6 children, and I took them to Madrid. And then, well, nothing. The house was left here. You can see in what condition.
What a shame, because it also has such beautiful views.
And it was a beautiful house because look at the brambles they have here, the brush they have down here. The house used to get perfect sun all around it, and it was a very well located house.
I bet there were great views behind you with the whole mountain. You can't see it now because it's blocked, but you could see all the mountains and amazing scenery.
Fabulous. No, the house is fabulous. And look at the condition it's in. And what's more, with the amount of brush here, there's a risk that at any moment this could even catch fire.
Yes, because if there's even a small fire, it would completely destroy the house here. There wouldn't even be time.
No. Seeing all the brush here, there's no way.
There was a wash area and everything down there.
Yes.
Impressive, but I can't get in because there's a lot of vegetation, there are nettles, and that plant really hurts your skin. You get pretty bad rashes. But look, what a shame. The ivy is coming in through the window. Geez. This is one I would even consider buying myself. Look, it's even fallen down here, Look, I'll show you over here because I can actually get in through here. It's been years since this door was closed and it hasn't been opened again, And something has fallen here that looks like it's part of the oven because it was round. I think this part was the oven.
Yes.
And look, it even has the date when the house was built, 1971, or at least when it was repaired, right?
The repair.
Because the house must be much older, right?
The house was, yes, much older. This was a small repair they did to it.
Look, what a shame, what a pity. Look, there's an old radio here. Everything, look, Monchi, look how old this radio is. That's amazing, Probably from the owners of the house.
And look, this fell here. This is where the bread was made, the oven.
Yes, I mentioned earlier that it was the oven, right? I mean, I was right.
Yes, where they kneaded and baked the bread. They have the door on the inside, of course.
Of course, yes, I can imagine. Well, you can see what these village houses are turning into.
That's how things are going, yes. To finish, here's the house they tried to restore. This is the granary that was here where the grain was stored because mice couldn't get up here. As you can see, there are some chickens that can't get up there either. And this is where the grain from the harvest was stored. That's what was collected. And the house now, look at the condition it's in.
Mother of God, you can barely even see it.
The old folks passed away and the children left, and this is completely abandoned.
Such a shame. They really tried to restore it, didn't they? But what went wrong?
I don't know. They probably didn't have the means to cover the cost of repairing this, so they just left it completely abandoned.
Do you think that young people, this is a personal opinion, I want your perspective, do you think young people will ever return to the village? Is it viable? Is it not viable?
Well, young people, if someone comes here, they come, but to actually live here, only if they work remotely or something like that. Now, to live here like people used to, from livestock, from the garden and those kinds of things, it's very difficult, really difficult. Now you can't plant anything in the gardens because you can't, unless you fence everything off with an electric fence. That's right, it's for the wild boars and other wild animals. And livestock farming is very difficult too. It doesn't really work either. I don't think it's easy.
You see it as complicated.
I see it as very complicated because even on our own place, where we're already in the business, where there's a tractor, a baler, some machinery, and a pretty good stable, we're already a little bit established. And now After a year to Parco Londres, since this isn't easy, I see it as quite difficult to get started. They say they give some aid there, some aid for 10 years for nothing, but I don't see that as viable, honestly, no.
No, this isn't about aid, it's about being able to move forward on our own.
Each rancher should be able to live off his own means, to be able to fend for himself, not waiting for someone else to support him.
I find it incredible that the producers of something so essential, of food, have to depend on anyone to... I mean, we've gone crazy, I think, because the one who produces the food, who should be the one demanding, has given up that power to those above, to that entity that's there, that governs us, manipulates us, and on top of that scares us away from going back to the countryside. Because I notice there's a lot of fear about going back to the countryside because of that, because of the uncertainty, because there's no certainty about anything. Or going to the village, to the countryside to live, takes a lot of guts and means, risking that it will be very complicated.
To live in one of these livestock farming villages, I would almost say it's nearly impossible. Because I see it for myself before. When you sold a calf, that calf would go a long way for you. Now you sell 4 and they don't go as far as the one you used to sell before when you're paying for one thing after another. There's a high cost with all the feed, with everything as it is, with veterinarians, with health checks. Well, everything turns into work and problems. I don't see it as profitable.
The world is upside down, that's true. Well, with this bleak scene behind me and with this conversation we've just had, I'm going to end the video. Because honestly, when I meet with people as wise as Monchi, who has lived through the prosperous era of farming, because there was already machinery, they were able to develop in agriculture in a different way, not like their parents or grandparents. And even so, you can see that it's completely impossible nowadays. That's why I don't want to do what a lot of people tell me in their videos, saying that this is very easy. No, I know it's hard, but I always urge people to come. Here, there's peace and health. With just a little bit that you can plant and that grows, you can save quite a bit of money on groceries. And well, life in the villages, anyone who has lived in a village or knows that in the city you're stressed, here is where you can find peace and a different way of living. But nowadays you have to keep in mind that it's going to have to be through technology, like teleworking or something like that. I won't go on any longer. Thank you, Monchi, for welcoming me, showing me your village, telling me a little about it, and sharing what life is like here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to leave you my social media, as always, in case you want to stay a bit more up to date with the content I don't upload here on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for bringing things out that are fair. Very fair things, bringing them out for everyone to see.
Well, I'll leave you with those words. Bye. Bye.